It's time for another edition of the Youngstown area's most in-depth weather forecast. We call it Weather for Weather Geeks. Hi, everyone. Eric Wilhelm here on this Wednesday evening, the 27th day of December. What a day it was today. It was a cold one. I'm going to show you some stats in a second, but we're just getting started. This is only day 2 of the true harsh stretch that will take us probably well into next week. So get used to this. We're going to have this for quite a while. These are some approximate low temperatures this morning. I grabbed a snapshot of the temperatures around 6 a.m. and this is fairly representative of where we were. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 degrees in a lot of places as the day began this morning. And tonight and tomorrow morning look even colder. Now, the high of 14 today makes it the coldest December day in Youngstown since 2004. It's been since December 20th, 2004 since we've had a day as cold as this one in the month of December. We just missed tying the record low maximum for today's date, which is 13 degrees. Tomorrow's record low maximum, in other words, the coldest high temperature for that date, could be in jeopardy tomorrow. That number is 17 tomorrow. We have a forecast of 15 for tomorrow afternoon. So, yeah, some serious cold, and, what you see is what you get. Check out the temperature trend over the last 20 hours. This is not the wind chill, but the actual air temperatures starting this morning well down into the single digits and then slowly climbing and then kind of plateauing from midday into the afternoon. And already this evening, it's 3 degrees colder than this same time last evening. Well, almost 3 degrees. This graphic starts at 11 p.m. and ends at 7 p.m. today, so it's not quite 24 hours. But it is running colder than the same time last night, and that leads me to believe that we'll have no trouble getting down pretty close to zero in a lot of areas tonight with enough clearing. Now, it's interesting when you look at an infrared satellite picture when we have Arctic air in place. A lot of green and dark blues here. Well, some of this is cloudiness. Some of this is the ground. What you're seeing on the infrared satellite picture is it's getting a temperature of the clouds, it's getting a temperature of the ground, and in a lot of cases here, the ground temperatures are as cold as the cloud tops, way up in the atmosphere. That's, a signature of Arctic air on an infrared enhanced satellite picture like this. So all this green is either cloudiness or just the cold ground being picked up on the satellite. Of course, everything that's kind of moving is cloudiness. And some of this high cloudiness will try to push in tonight, and that will stop our temperatures from plummeting as quickly as they could otherwise. It's already turning very cold, but I think our rate of temperatures dropping will slow as we see a few more clouds overnight tonight. These are the 7 o'clock hour air temperatures across the region. Again, single digits locally, below zero in parts of the upper Midwest. International Falls already down to 19 below. Now, snow today has been different. The radar's been different than the last couple of days. Instead of the bands aimed up the lake like this, it's been more of a northwesterly fetch today, a shorter fetch off the lake, and so these have been more inconsequential. Now, they've picked up a lot of snow up here over the last 24 hours or so in Ashtabula, Geauga, Lake counties, parts of Cuyahoga County, but these have had a hard time penetrating too far into the secondary snow belt, so we haven't really seen much in the way of accumulation in the WFMJ viewing area. All right, let's walk you through the next couple of days. All right, tomorrow's a pretty calm day, cold, temperatures mid-teens. We'll see an increase in high cloudiness. Now, as we get into tomorrow night, the first of a couple of weak systems will head our way, and you don't see much on the model here, and I don't think there'll be much, but I do think we'll see some light snow tomorrow night into Friday morning. Half an inch, maybe an inch gets squeezed out of this with some high ratios, maybe just enough to make things slick Friday morning. Again, let's not focus on the actual accumulation because that'll be fairly insignificant. Could it be impactful for Friday morning's commute? That is a possibility, even with just a half an inch or an inch worth of snow. System number 2 then, this is Friday night into Saturday morning. This has, I think, a higher chance of giving us at least an inch, maybe even up to 2 inches worth of fluffy snow as the weekend begins. Mostly in the overnight hours into Saturday morning, but even after the front rolls through, there'll probably be some residual snow showers with some lake effect and lake enhancement going on here Saturday afternoon. Pretty nasty day coming up on Saturday with a gusty wind and temperatures mostly in the teens, wind chills down into the single digits. Again, this cold has staying power. It's here through much of next week. I will put together some numbers on this, but if we string together 9 consecutive days with highs below 20 degrees, which is possible, we've had 2 in a row, we could squeeze out another 7. If we get to 9, that would tie the record longest stretch of sub-20 high temperatures here in Youngstown. That happened back in 1961, I believe. So that is something that we'll be keeping an eye on as far as fun records to keep track of. Let's talk a little bit about the longer range. Coming up late this week, I'll do a January forecast, probably Friday evening. Friday evening's Weather Geeks. Of course, I'm going to talk about the snow Friday night and Saturday and give you an update on the forecast in general. But we'll do a kind of year in review Friday evening, and we'll also do a January forecast Friday evening. I'm going to show you some model data here for January. And what you see is a different looking map than December. In December, the cold has been centered over Ontario, Quebec, and down into the Great Lakes, especially now this week. The modeling is showing the cold may be centered farther west in the month of January. So January, a much colder month compared to December and the Dakotas and Montana, places like that. And this would not be surprising if this is right. Now, will we be a little above average like the model's showing? I have my doubts about that. Not sure about that yet. But the idea that the cold will be centered farther west has some merit, and we just have to look back at the what we call the analog years. You know, one of our chief winter analogs when we made the winter forecast, in other words, looking back at years with similar setups to this year, was the winter of 1962-63. This is what happened in January of 1963. Very cold in much of the country, but you'll notice, compared to the average, the center of it was kind of in here. It was a very cold month here locally. Now compare that to the previous month, December of 1962, kind of looks like this month, with warmth in the west and cold weather centered across the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes. Now, it's not a perfect match, but this is a pretty good analog for this winter, I think. And so, you know, as we get into January, I think the cold will ease by the second week of the month. Now, will it ease permanently, or will it just be kind of a pause? Not sure on that yet. I'll do the forecast Friday. But this overall idea, I think, again, has some merit that while January might still be colder than average here locally, the departures from average may be higher out to our west. So that is one thing we'll be looking at for the January forecast coming up in a couple of days. Thanks for watching tonight's Weather for Weather Geeks. Look for more geeky stuff just like that on tomorrow's video, Friday's video. Again, year in review coming up on Friday, and a full update on the 7-day forecast as well.